everyone, Becky Manslaughter here from Dark Matters, and welcome to a very special explainer. I am beyond thrilled to team up with my friends over at CML Labs today. We're taking a little detour from our usual deep dives into the unknown to investigate a totally different kind of biological mystery. We are going to look at exactly how to orchestrate a massive biological takeover of oyster mushrooms. Seriously, we're getting right into the nitty-gritty, step-by-step process of fungal cultivation. So let's jump right in.
Okay, here's our roadmap for the day. 1. Preparing the straw host. 2. Eliminating the competition. 3. The inoculation phase. 4. Creating optimal fruiting conditions. And finally, 5. Maximizing your mushroom harvest. It's a nice, clean path from raw materials to a full-blown biological breakout.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, preparing the straw host, setting the scene. Every successful takeover needs the perfect, vulnerable environment to start, right? And for us, that environment is just common agricultural straw. Now, looking at our lineup of prime suspects, you've got your pearl, elm, and tropical pink oysters, which are all totally viable for a straw host. But I really want to draw your attention to the blue oyster over there on the far left. This one is a remarkably hardy, fast-growing suspect. It absolutely thrives when executing its takeover in cooler environments. We're talking a chilly 45 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Plus, it produces these gorgeous, dense blue-gray clusters that actually have a really excellent shelf life.
So to prep our host for the blue oyster, or really any of these suspects, we've got to nail 2 strict vital statistics. First up, you've got to take your clean, dry wheat or barley straw and chop it down into precise 2 to 4 inch pieces. Actually, this specific size is absolutely crucial for optimal colonization and holding onto water. Second, hydration. You're going to submerge that chopped straw in water for about 1 to 2 hours until it's completely saturated, and then drain it off. What we're aiming for here is a very precise 65 to 75% moisture content. Basically, if you squeeze it, it should feel really damp, but not dripping wet, you know?
Moving right along to Section 2, eliminating the competition, the heat treatments. Look, before we even think about introducing our fungal agent, we have to brutally eliminate all the microscopic rivals, molds, bacteria, and wild fungi that are already hiding out in that straw. We've basically got 2 ways to clear the field here, depending on what you have on hand. On one side, we have what's called the gorilla method. This is a super accessible hot water pasteurization technique that is just perfect if you're a beginner with minimal gear. On the flip side, we have pressure cooking, or autoclaving. This is for heavy-duty, absolute maximum sterility, perfect for growers who want zero competition and the absolute highest success rates. If you're going with the gorilla method, your magic number to remember is 165. When you're heating up your water, maybe you're using a large drum or even just a 5-gallon paint bucket, your general target is between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. But 165, that is the absolute sweet spot for pasteurization. You just load your dry straw into a pillowcase, dunk it completely under, and let it soak in that intensely hot water for exactly 90 minutes. This knocks out the bad guys, but actually keeps some of the beneficial microbes alive. Oh, and crucial detail, after those 90 minutes, you have to let it cool down below 80 degrees before you handle it. If you don't, you literally risk cooking your own mushroom spawn, and nobody wants that. Now for our second method, we're bringing in the undeniable power of the pressure cooker. If you're working in a space where contamination is a known threat, autoclaving is 100% the way to go for maximum sterility. You load your perfectly hydrated straw into those specialized polypropylene mushroom grow bags, the ones with the half-micron filter catches, which completely locks down your substrate. Then you process these 5-pound bags for 90 to 120 minutes at a critical 15 psi. That hits temperatures of 250 degrees Fahrenheit, creating a totally sterile, blank slate environment for your agent to absolutely dominate. All right, the competition is wiped out and the host is prepped. Let's get into Section 3, the inoculation phase, introducing the agent. This is where we strategically introduce our chosen vector of infection right into the dark environment of the substrate bag. You've basically got 2 primary choices for deploying your agent here. First is liquid culture. Working in a super sanitized spot, ideally near a HEPA filter, you stealthily inject 3 to 5 cc's of liquid culture per pound of substrate directly into the bag. It's a bit of a stealth operation, so it takes a little longer, roughly 14 to 21 days to fully colonize. Alternatively, you've got the grain spawn method. By mixing in 10 to 20% grain spawn by weight, you are deploying a much more aggressive takeover agent. You can even break up and shake the bag when it's about 30% colonized to really accelerate things. With grain spawn, full colonization only takes 10 to 14 days. Either way, you'll know your agent is winning when you see this healthy, bright white, fluffy mycelium spreading all throughout the bag. So the entire block is white. Awesome. Now we move into Section 4, creating optimal fruiting conditions,
the breakout. This is where we drastically flip the script on the environment to trigger that final dramatic event, the actual fruiting. Here's the thing. Mushrooms are only going to break out of that host if they actually believe the outside world is perfect for spreading their spores. It's like we have to trick them into thinking they're on a damp, fresh forest floor. We do this by enforcing some pretty strict environmental demands. You've got to maintain a suffocating 85 to 95% relative humidity. But humidity alone won't cut it. They need a constant stream of fresh oxygen too, which means 4 to 6 fresh air exchanges every single hour. Throw in 12 hours of indirect light a day so they know which way is up, and keep those species-specific temperatures dialed in, like that chilly 45 to 65 degrees our blue oyster loves, and boom, you will trigger the fruiting phase. So how exactly do we pull off these conditions? Well, you can totally start with a low-cost kind of guerrilla countertop setup. That's where you just cut X-shaped slits right into the bag and manually mist it with water 2 to 3 times a day. Or you can scale all the way up to a highly sophisticated Martha tent setup. A Martha tent is basically an automated indoor greenhouse. It uses wire shelving, an ultrasonic humidifier, and exhaust fans all hooked up to timer controls. It perfectly dials in that exact humidity and fresh air exchange without you ever having to lift a finger. And that brings us right into Section 5, maximizing your mushroom harvest, scaling the operation. Because honestly, the sheer volume of your final biological yield really comes down to this final phase. If you stick with the low-tech countertop setup, you are absolutely going to get mushrooms. It's fantastic for beginners, and you'll typically get about 1 to 2 flushes, which are just waves of mushroom harvests, before the host runs out of energy. But if you make the jump to the automated Martha tent, you are massively maximizing that harvest. Because that environment is so perfectly controlled, the mycelium can actually push out an impressive 3 to 4 flushes from that exact same bag. Sure, it takes a bit more research and a little cash up front, but the payoff, totally worth it. All right, CMLC Labs crew and everyone else tuning in, let's recap the golden rules from today's roadmap. First, master the basics. Start simple with hot water pasteurization before you go dropping cash on expensive gear. Second, and I literally cannot stress this enough, maintain complete sterility. Contamination is your absolute worst enemy here, so keeping a clean workspace and a bottle of 70% isopropyl alcohol handy will absolutely save your investigation. And finally, scale thoughtfully. Track your results, tweak your process with every grow cycle, and only expand once you're hitting consistent success. If you pay attention to the details and trust the technique, you'll be watching the beautiful, unstoppable creeping power of mycelium take over in just a few short weeks. I'm Becky Manslaughter, and this has been a special CMLC Labs Explainer. Thank you so much for joining me on this crazy journey from a simple pile of straw to a massive fungal breakout. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other biological mysteries are just waiting to thrive in the dark? Happy growing, everyone!